there, this is Tiffany. I'm back again, and today I would like to talk to you about the Open Root Energy Center. And I'm going to touch a bit on the concept of procrastination, how I like to define procrastination, or how maybe you can reframe that whole concept of procrastination. I also want to touch on what the Open Root Center means from a human design perspective when we're looking at that body graph chart and we see that square at the bottom of the chart is white or open. So if you have labeled yourself a procrastinator, or you have a negative story of how you can never get things done, or how you have trouble kickstarting the things you want to kickstart, I have some hacks for you to think about or consider playing with. Before I go any further, I just want to let you know that I do have an amazing free library of resources available on my website at www.aluxuriousmind.com. And in this free library, you don't even need to give me an email to access it. I have human design resources, I have astrology resources, I have numerology resources, I have planners. All of this is free for you to download there. So if you're a spiritual seeker who's interested in all things magic and you like to play with different modalities or different approaches to get those aha moments, my free library might be a good place to check out. All right, so let's talk about the Open Root Energy Center. So any energy type can have an Open Root Energy Center. And when I'm using the word open, I also mean undefined, meaning there is no color in that center. It's white when you're looking at your body graph chart, and it's the square at the bottom of the body graph chart. The reason I'm feeling compelled to talk about the Open Root Energy Center is because I've had a lot of readings lately where I have people who have Open Root Energy Centers, and I'm hearing a lot of things around, I feel like I'm a procrastinator, it's harder for me to kickstart things, and these negative stories around getting things done, getting things moving. And it can be really frustrating when you have an Open Root Energy Center because you don't have that consistent pressure there. So the root energy center in human design is a pressure center. I like to describe it as the gas pedal in the car. It's that pressure that makes things go, that makes things start moving forward, that propels something into action. So in theory, when you have a colored in root energy center, those individuals have this pressure that's always sitting there and waiting to kickstart things. However, when you have this open root energy center that's really designed to pick up information from the outside world, it doesn't have its own consistent pressure just sitting there and being housed in that energy center. So when I'm talking about open energy centers, I like to say, think of these as satellite dishes. They're picking up information from the outside world. So when you have an open root energy center, your root energy center is designed to get intel from the outside world. So that means that you will sense, you can walk in a room and you can sense and pick up the pressure that's going on in the room, and that might give you information or wisdom that you can use in that moment. It also means that if you are in partnership or you have other family members who live in the home with you who have defined or colored in root energy centers, you are going to pick up on the pressure of their defined or colored in root energy center. When I'm doing partnership readings, very often this is a core issue or a core challenge between couples, because very often one person in the relationship dynamic will have a open root energy center and the other one will have a defined or colored in root energy center. And very often this is a source of tension because the person with the open root energy center will be picking up or sensing the pressure from the person with the colored root energy center. And the mind is going to start spinning stories explaining why the pressure is there, why they're experiencing that pressure. So what can often happen is in partnerships that the white or open root energy center picks up the pressure from the other person and says, why are you pressuring me? Or feeling like that person is pressuring them in some way, when really the person with the colored root energy center is not. They have no intention to pressure them, but that other person with the open root is feeling that pressure and they're assigning meaning to it. The mind is creating a story. So let's talk about your superpowers or the good side or the high expression of having an open root energy center. An individual with an open root energy center is going to be very good when they have very clear deadlines and when they need to get things done. Second, open root energy centers, like I mentioned earlier, because you can pick up on the pressure that's coming from other people, you can walk into a room and sense what's going on. You have information that's coming at you. But also, in the high expression of having an open root energy center, you will be that person that can be the barometer, or you can know the balance between what is a healthy level of pressure or stress versus what is an unhealthy or toxic level of stress. You're going to be able to pick up and understand the difference between those two things. Lastly, you do have the potential when you have an open root energy center to get these adrenaline rushes that are going to propel or move you or move projects forward in some way. So again, wherever we have open energy centers, the energy is sporadic, it's not consistent. So in the case of an open root energy center, these adrenaline rushes that you could potentially get to move or propel things forward will come to you. You just may not be able to predict them or force them to happen at will when you want it to happen. Next, I want to clearly list the challenges associated with having an open root energy center. So the first one is, because you have that open root energy center, it might be difficult for you to know how to pace yourself, especially when you are in high energy, high intensity environments. So when you have that open root energy center, you will be able to ride the wave of the pressure that you pick up on. So you can ride it in a very healthy way. Let's say you work on a team and maybe one of your team members has a defined root energy center, and you can pick up on that pressure and you can ride that wave to get things done. Where it can be challenging, though, is when the wave is too intense and you are stuck on this wave and you end up burning yourself out a bit, or you get really exhausted from that experience. Because of this, I would tell open root energy center people, notice how you feel or how it is when you're working on projects, especially if you're working in situations where you're working with other team members or collaborating with other team members. Notice when you feel this pressure to get things done. Notice when that wave comes up and you seem to be propelled forward and you feel like you're able to move things forward more easily than you normally do. And then notice the times when the pressure seems to be dissipated and it's not there. And the way that feels is when you almost feel like there's stuff you want to get done, but you couldn't bring yourself to do it if you tried. Like the pressure to do the thing is just not there. Another challenge is that when you have an open root energy center, you may have trouble setting your own deadlines or timelines for things. I'm going to talk about a hack for this here in a couple seconds. But what is important to know is that external deadlines, so deadlines coming from other people, from a superior, from other team members relying on you for something, things like that, that's when the deadlines or the timelines are going to be easier for you to meet than the times when you need to put a pressure on yourself to get something done. One example I would like to give around this is open root energy center people often have a story about themselves. Not always. You might be one who hears this and said, oh, not me. But I hear it a lot. Open root energy center people often have the story that they're procrastinators. And this is because, like, let's say the person who has the open root energy center is a student in college and they have a paper that is due on Friday. What's going to happen is they're going to have a story in their mind or a pressure in their mind to say, I need to start working on this paper that's due Friday. So on Monday, they're going to say, oh, you really need to start on that paper. You have to get the thing done. But then the pressure's not there to do it. So then Tuesday comes. And then again, there's this story and they're telling themselves, oh, you really need to start the paper. You need to get it done by Friday. But they don't get it done. And so then Wednesday comes because the pressure's not there. And the thing with having an open root energy center that you really need to embrace is the fact that that pressure to do the thing is not going to come until you need to do the thing. So what often happens is that student will get the paper done by Friday morning, but they may not start it until Wednesday night, Thursday, and then they'll get the pressure to do it and they'll get the thing done. So another quick example, I have a very good friend who organizes events. She does workshops on the weekends, and she will tell herself during the week, oh, I need to do XYZ to prepare for my workshop on Saturday. But she says what actually happens is that she gets up first thing in the morning on that Saturday of, say, let's say the workshop starts at noon, and she gets up that morning and pops awake, and she's running around all morning getting all the things done. And at that moment, during that morning, she's in flow because she's getting all the things done that she needs to do to prep for the workshop at noon. So if you have an open root energy center, you may find that this is how you operate. And I would really encourage you, instead of having a negative story about that, embrace that that's how you are designed to operate. Embrace the fact that this is your divine timing and how you get things done. And another challenge associated with having an open root energy center is feeling this never ending sense of pressure to get things done, feeling like freedom is always on the other side of getting things done. So this gets back to what I said about embracing your process, embracing how the pressure to get things done works for you. If you notice yourself feeling this constant pressure to get things done and that freedom is always on the other side of completing the task that's in front of you, pull back and sit with it. Take a moment, slow down your mind, slow down, and realize, okay, freedom isn't on the other side of me getting these things done. And just take a deep breath and understand again that your root energy center, that pressure is going to be inconsistent. And so you don't want to artificially push yourself to get things done. You also want to surf it a little bit. You want to lean into the fact that you have this ebb and flow with pressure. You want to be like the willow tree who allows yourself to be propelled by the pressure in your life and just come back to a place of understanding that this is how you are designed to operate. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of hacks. Number one is what I said earlier, reframe procrastination. You're not procrastinating. This is how you're designed to operate, and embrace to the best of your ability. This is how you get things done, your divine timing for getting things done, and really lean into it. So if you're that person that's going to get up first thing in the morning to get stuff done before an event, just know that that's how you're designed to operate and mentally prepare for that. Second, if you're calling yourself a procrastinator because you're saying, oh, these tasks, taxes, laundry, whatever it is, if you're saying there's these things that you need to get done, but you're not getting them done and they're just piling up, and you have this negative story of I procrastinate things, I don't ever get things done, or I'm lazy, whatever it is, ask yourself, is this something I truly desire to do? Is this something I truly want to do? Because I think we need to reframe procrastination. To me, the word should not even exist, because if you think about it, there are tasks and things in the world that we have a true desire to do and a true desire to go after. And when we have that true desire in place, at least my experience is, we tend not to procrastinate those things. However, when there are tasks that are daunting, that are outside of our skill set, that make us really uncomfortable, that are scary, that are a slog to get through, like taxes, for example, we don't want to do those things, right? We avoid it. There's a fear response or annoyed response to getting those things done. Job hunting is another great example, right? If you find yourself in a situation where you need to find a job, but you don't love the process. When we don't love the process of something, we don't love doing the work that we're doing, why should we call that procrastination? I just think procrastination, that word should not exist. That's my opinion. So what I want you to do is, when you have a negative story that you're not getting something done that you need to get done, but look at it. Is this something I even want to do in the first place? And if it's something you don't even want to do, if it scares you, if it's outside your comfort zone, if it's outside your skill set, just know that that's not procrastination. Just know that doesn't say anything about you. Nobody in the world wants to do things we don't want to do. That's just a fact. Okay. So just give yourself grace in that situation. All right. My next hack or tip, create deadlines for yourself, but make sure they're not arbitrary. So let me explain. Let's say that you want to write a book or you want to write chapters in a book. If you were to say to yourself, oh, I'm going to give myself a deadline of having this chapter done by next Friday. Well, that's arbitrary because there's no pressure there. You know that you can move that deadline out later if you need to move the deadline out later. However, if you say to yourself, oh, I have an appointment at the hairdresser in 2 hours. I'm going to see how much writing I can do between now and the time I have to leave for my appointment. And give yourself, say, a 90-minute time period and create a time block where there's actual pressure because you have to leave the house to go to your hair appointment, but you're working on the task of the thing that you really want to do. And you're creating this pressure, this like mini pressure time block. Also, if at work you have trouble, like let's say you have tasks at work that have timelines and you have tasks or projects at work that do not have timelines, ask somebody, a manager, somebody you report to, for a timeline to get that thing done. Because if the timeline can come from somebody else, that might be helpful in you kickstarting and getting that thing done. My last hack or tip is borrow the pressure from somebody else in your home or somebody else at work. So let's say you have a partner at home or a child or somebody else who lives in the home who you know has a colored in root energy center. And let's say you really want to clean the garage, but you know you might have a little bit of trouble getting the whole project kick-started. What you could do is tap that person and say, hey, could we start this project together for the first, say, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes and see if that can help you get going. And then that person can go on and do something else later. And you might at that point then be in the flow. And I want to make it clear by giving you this example, I'm saying play with it, play with these things, play with borrowing the energy or the root center pressure from other people. Notice the people on your team or people that you work with where you feel like there's more flow and movement forward when you're working with that person, when maybe there's less flow and movement forward when you're working with another person. When it comes to having people in your home who have a defined root, play with kickstarting things with them around or working in tandem with them. Maybe it's a situation where you and your partner both work from home and you could sit next to each other or in aura with each other for a period of time, part of the day, just to borrow their pressure to get things going. All right, so I hope this information was helpful to you in some way. And if you have any questions or you have an open root energy center, I would really love to know your experience because I will tell you I have done readings with people that have had open root energy centers and they will say that I don't have any trouble kickstarting things at all. And my guess is that there could be a couple things that are going on there. The first might be that they have other energy centers defined that are masking or picking up the slack, for lack of a better word, that help them kind of get things going. The other thought I have is, what is their work dynamic like? What is their work situation like? Do they really have the perfect job for an open root energy center person? Because they have enough timelines and deadlines to keep things moving forward, but not so many deadlines where they get burnt out or feel like they're getting spinny or really exhausting themselves. That work environment essentially allows them to balance that pressure, to find a very balanced approach and almost like a flow. So I would love to know your experience if you have an open root energy center, and I will talk to you later. See you in the next video.